Today I am visiting Canada's National Institution for Vaping, where in 2003 researchers in that very building came up with the world's first ever vape while trying to make a product that would make smoking look less cool. The researchers have since moved on, undoubtedly to bigger and better things, but the trend that they started, well, that's taken over the world, and not always for the right reasons. Have you heard of the mysterious vaping disease?
All right, maybe I was kidding about that building, but I just needed a good intro to hook you guys in and an excuse to leave the house. I'm not kidding about the mysterious vaping disease though. It is real, although its technical name at the moment is actually e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury. But, you know, mysterious vaping disease makes a better YouTube title. Essentially, some people are getting seriously ill from vaping, some are even dying, and nobody is 100% sure exactly why. Why does this all matter to me? Well, I used to vape. I actually vaped for over a year as a way to help me quit smoking. This actually isn't my vape. I wanted to use my old vape for this video, but I lost it just before I started making this video. So yeah, this one's basically the same. The figures are pretty shocking for this, especially in America, where the CDC has reported 2,668 cases, 60 of which involve people actually dying from it. In Canada, it's 16 cases with 0 deaths. The discrepancy in those numbers is probably down to different regulation laws between America and Canada. But as far as we can tell, it's the same illness. So what is going on? At one point, vaping was being heralded as the miracle tool to help people stop smoking. But now its future as that miracle tool doesn't seem so bright. What exactly is this vaping illness? What do researchers think is causing it? And what does all of this mean for the future of vaping? Now, to let you guys know exactly what it is, I thought I would use an example, specifically the first example case of it in Canada. In September 2019, the Middlesex London Health Unit in Ontario announced they had diagnosed a teenager earlier that year with severe respiratory illness linked to his use of vaping products. Then in November, the Canadian Medical Association published an article written by the 6 doctors who actually treated the boy during his 47-day stay in hospital. The 17-year-old came into their care after reporting a persistent cough he'd had for a week. He said he didn't smoke cigarettes, he said he didn't drink, but he did vape, and specifically he quite often put THC into his vape juices. He was initially diagnosed with pneumonia, given a prescription for that, and sort of sent on his way. 5 days later, he returned struggling to breathe with nausea and discomfort. His condition deteriorated so quickly that by the 9th day, he had to be put on a ventilator and then a life support machine. Doctors contemplated giving him a double lung surgery, but actually pulled back from that when he started to respond better to steroids. He was eventually returned to his local hospital and then discharged to his home, where he slowly recovered over the following months, but he still struggled to breathe even then. So that was the first recorded case of the vaping related illness happening in Canada. It did share a lot of symptoms with other cases in the US, but it also differed from them in some ways. Either way, researchers are trying to see if there is an underlying cause to all of this. To find out more about all of this, I spoke to Dr. Bonnie Henry, British Columbia's provincial health officer. The first thing I wanted to know is how exactly do they identify if someone has this vaping related illness?
If a clinician thinks that they have seen somebody who has this vaping related illness, they need to report to the local MHO, and we do an investigation to see if it meets our national and national case definitions. What we need to do with our case definitions is make sure we're dealing with exactly the same thing, because that will help us do the investigation to try and understand what's causing this illness. So they're very detailed investigations, and the case definitions, we call them probable or confirmed, and it's all about the type of illness somebody has, but also the products they're using, how often they're vaping, whether the clinician feels that vaping is the sole cause of the issue that this person has had, or whether there are other things as well. What we're trying to do is focus in on those people who we are pretty sure have this vaping-related illness, because that allows us to compare like things. So it's not only apple to apple, it's the same or same species of apple, the same variety that they're seeing in the US. And that way we can understand more about what might be causing the illness. So it really is an investigation.
Okay, new background. An investigation it certainly is. In the case of the Ontario team, they did a radiography scan on his lungs, and this is what they saw. Those milky white blotches are known as diffuse microndular opacities. Now that's an indicator of a type of bronchitis usually found in microwave popcorn factory workers after they inhale a chemical known as diacetyl. Diacetyl has been deemed safe to ingest but not safe to inhale, and you guessed it, it's found in a number of different flavoring agents used in vape juices. So is that it then? Case closed? Well, there's also THC. THC is the main psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. On January 17th, 2020, America's CDC released an update into their investigation stating that THC-containing vaping products, particularly from informal sources like friends, family, or in-person or online dealers, are linked to most cases and play a major role in the outbreak. In their study, a whopping 82% of patients reported using THC-containing products. Specifically, they're looking at vitamin E acetate, an oily chemical added to THC vaping liquids in order to dilute or thicken them.
I know the recent report from the US looked at vitamin E acetate, one of the compounds that is added sometimes to THC containing products, but we don't know. We don't have enough regulation in place yet in Canada or the US to understand the ingredients in any of these products. So that's one thing that I think we really need to get a better handle.
While it's true that we don't know for sure yet, in December 2019, a paper published in the New England Medical Journal found evidence of vitamin E acetate in the fluid of the lungs of 48 of 50 people who had developed or died from a vaping-related illness. They compared those samples with the fluid taken from the lungs of 99 people who didn't smoke, and they didn't find any trace. So the evidence seems to be pointing that way. But one other thing I've often heard online is that you have nothing to worry about if your vape and your vape liquid is from a legitimate source and not some shady back alley dealer.
The vaping industry would want us all to believe that they're all illegally produced and non-regulated vapes, but that's not the case in my understanding. And certainly there's been a proportion, at least 20% in cases here in Canada, that are not illegally produced THC-containing vapes. They're people who had severe illness related to nicotine-only containing vapes. So yes, we should be concerned about it. And if you're not somebody who smokes and you're not somebody who vapes, don't start. This is just another reason to say that, inhaling chemicals into your lungs is never a good thing.
As the number of cases and deaths have risen, one thing you'll see a lot is the media referring to this as an epidemic. And is that fair to say?
So for us in the public health world, an epidemic is anything that is occurring above expected rates. So no, we don't expect to see severe lung illness related to these products. So it is an epidemic for sure.
So it seems like only a matter of time then before we see real action being taken in Canada and beyond to make vapes safer and stop cases like this ever happening again. But what does that mean for the smoker using the vape as a tool to quit? Like I said at the start of the video, that's exactly what I used it for. After watching this video, it would be easy to vilify vapes. But do they have a future once these problems are identified and regulation is put into place?
If you're somebody who smokes and you think you want to quit smoking cigarettes, I think vaping is still a less risky option. But it's not without its health risks, and we need to balance those. And we need to have more regulation so that we understand better with the vaping products themselves.
There's no doubt that as it stands, more regulation and research is needed in order to make vapes safe. Even one person getting sick is too many. But I do find it interesting that we don't hold cigarettes to the same standard as we do with vapes. We've known how bad smoking is for people for a long time. Every single day, 100 Canadians die from a smoking-related illness. And then you've got vaping products like this Relax one that I showed you at the start of the video, which claim to be the answer to helping you to quit smoking. As soon as you open the box of this, you're hit with the message,
break the habits. Inside, the leaflet proudly informs you that now you're ready to live life on your terms, cigarette-free. Sure, that sounds like an admirable sentiment from a vaping company, albeit a profitable one. But until this vaping illness becomes a thing of the past, will vaping ever truly be a thing of the future?